Welcome to the United Pubcast. It's time to review the World Cup 2022. It is written into the history books. It is done and dusted, and it is now time to let it all settle in and to take you through it, to help you settle through what might be the greatest final of all time, if not the greatest game of all time. I'm joined by Tom, as always. Tom, firstly, how are the bags under the eyes, and how are you feeling after this game?
It is a good one in terms of, we'll have to sort of dissect in terms of everyone's experience in terms of watching the match. I think everyone has their own story watching the World Cup final. And mine was I didn't get to sleep after, and that wasn't through any excitement of, okay, Argentina winning or France not winning. It was just the sheer sort of drama. So I was awake from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock just sort of trying to sort of dissect everything that happened. But as you can see, a little bit of a different setting for me. So, looking forward to sort of hearing everyone's thoughts in the live chat, your thoughts as well, because as you did mention, it potentially is. We'll have to sort of look back through the history books. But if we do look at what we just witnessed, the greatest World Cup final we've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will get into all of that. So what's on the agenda for you? Well, let me tell you, tonight it is jam-packed. It's going to be a heavy show. We're going to dissect the game. We're going to dissect the goals. The debate, Ronaldo versus Messi. Is it done and dusted? Is it over? Or is there still an argument to be had? We'll get into all of that. So make sure you do stay tuned to the end of the video for that. And we will talk about Kylian Mbappe. Is he the best player in the world right now? So we'll get into all of that. But Tom, let's not waste any time. I want to rip straight into it. This game, before we dissect all the details, everything surrounding the game itself, those who participated, is this the best football match you have ever seen?
Before I answer that question, as I said, it's a little bit different setting for me. If my internet sort of worries or kicks out or anything, just kick me out of the stream and carry on, Larry. Talk to people in the live chat. But I will get my thoughts across in regards to that question. I was going to sort of throw it back to you. I think it does have that feeling that it was the greatest World Cup game ever. But my question would be sort of what do we value or what do we want in a good game? Because if it's just the first 79 minutes of that match, it's quite a straightforward match. I'm sure Argentinians would think it was a beautiful match, of course. But that first 79 minutes, I was looking ahead to is it going to be Turel Malacia or Luke Shaw playing against Burnley? That's the type of thing that was going through my mind. The game wasn't encapsulating like that. Fast forward 5 minutes, and it's potentially the greatest football match we've ever seen. So I'm thinking, what do we want in a good football match? Is it tactics and quality and good football? Or do we just want drama and just moments? Because I have a feeling that's what it was, and those drama and moments, I think, have created the best football match we've ever seen, given the situation. But that first 80 minutes, I think, look back at that and think, it was good. I'm sure Argentina played good football, and France were obviously off the pace a little bit, but it's one of those things, what we define as a good match. But ultimately, in terms of your question, I would say it definitely feels like the greatest match we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. What defines a great entertaining football game, or what defines the best game you've ever seen? I think it's a number of things. I think there is an element of, look, I think tactics are interesting to dissect, and I personally do enjoy that side of the game. But when you talk about the best game ever, you're looking purely for drama and entertainment. It's as simple as those two things for me. And this game had that all. If you ask me in the 80th minute, is this the greatest game we've ever seen? No. Absolutely not. It was Argentina basically strolling to the. It was Messi getting ready to. They were taking his measurements to see if he was going to fit in the robe at that point. But to be honest, everything that ensued, it was a phenomenal football match. You know, the drama, France's comeback, again, France's ability to come back time and time and time again. They never got themselves in the front, but they kept themselves in the battle. And they didn't let go of that trophy easily. And I think that's all ultimately you can ask for. But, Tom, let's start talking about the goals a little bit. Lionel Messi, his performance. I don't want to dissect goal by goal by goal. I think that's a little bit lambastic. But to talk about the actual, his performance, his goals, was he deserving of a man of the match performance for you? And if you're looking at his contribution in the football match, what did you make of the great man's performance?
I think it was one of those sort of Lionel Messi performances in terms of, especially the way up we weigh our 3-2-1s up when we're sort of looking at Man United performances. If you look at impact on the match, okay, you go 3 points. But if you look at the performance over 90 minutes, maybe a little bit quiet, but that's sort of what Messi does at this stage of his career. He sort of lulls people in a sort of false sense of security, sort of doesn't look like he's involved, and ultimately, bang, gets the ball and he turns it on. And that's sort of what makes him so dangerous in regards to a man of the match performance. Ultimately, he's the captain of the winning team. He scored 2 goals and they lift the World Cup. So, yes, he's the man of the match. In reality, if we sort of strip everything back, was he? Of course not. There was another candidate who obviously should have been awarded man of the match because the match ultimately did finish in a draw. No one won the actual match in the history books. Argentina don't win this match. They win the World Cup, but it's a draw, and Kylian Mbappe scored a hat-trick. And I'm just thinking he was obviously man of the match. Now, that's not an argument to say Lionel Messi shouldn't get it. Of course, it wins the World Cup. Rightly so, wins the man of the match. But in terms of man of the match, it was Kylian Mbappe, 100%.
I agree with you completely. And that's the grief I have with this. Like, I understand the winning team should generally get the man of the match. I personally like the man of the match to be neutral. Give it to the best player on the pitch. If you scored a hat-trick but you lose 5-3, as far as I'm concerned, that was the best player on the pitch.
But that's the thing. In the history books, they didn't lose. It was a draw. And that's not... we're going to get into the celebration of Argentina winning it. But ultimately, in regards to awarding a man of the match, it was a draw. In regards to the history books, this is a 3-3 draw, or 2-2 plus 3-3 draw. And I feel, you have to feel for Kylian Mbappe. What an occasion, what a moment for him, what could have been. And ultimately, he's going to have to try and forget this as sort of a sour moment in his career. No matter how sort of good it was on an individual basis. So you do have to feel for him. We're going to get into the sort of praising business of Argentina and Lionel Messi, and rightly so. But we're having a greatest of all time discussion regarding Messi. We're going to have to be having this discussion in a few years about Kylian Mbappe if he keeps this trend up.
Yeah, Rob makes an interesting comment here. Mbappe was good for 5 minutes, if we were being honest. Not sure I agree, mate. I think he was a threat throughout the game. I think Argentina did well to keep him quiet. But you also have to say, in terms of what Mbappe did, that second goal alone, I'll give him man of the match just for the goal. It was ridiculous. If you look at Messi's...
I think you just got to mention that in regards to Lionel Messi, the way a lot of teams deal with Messi is they get tight to him, make it hard for him. Kylian Mbappe, it was a typical Argentinian performance against him. They were tight, making it hard for him. And ultimately, you just look at the French team, and this, maybe you can throw Mbappe in this as well. But the French team in that first half, or I say first half, maybe first 70 minutes, were woeful. And there was obviously the rumours of a lot of them being potentially ill throughout the week, and obviously it did look like that. So I did just look at that in regards to, maybe there were better performances. Maybe one of the midfielders for Argentina in terms of dictating play. Maybe he was the best footballer on the pitch throughout the 90 minutes. But in regards to a man of the match for me, a hat-trick gets it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. All right, let's actually talk about France a little bit, because I feel like they're easy to brush aside, and we do forget that there were two teams that participated in this game. But talk to me about France, Tom. What did you make of Les Bleus' performance? I thought they were quite disappointing, that even though they managed to make a comeback, didn't seem to get into a rhythm, and it's kind of been the theme of their World Cup campaign, hasn't it? They've been good in moments, but they haven't quite managed to put it together. And let me ask you, do you put that down to being the current champions? Maybe the fire's not in the belly the way it normally is, or do you think that the amount of injuries to first-team players actually did manage to have an impact by the end of it?
Look, there might be reasons, and they might know the reasons. It might be illness. It might have been an off day. It might have been the pressure. All these things combined. It might be a mixture of everything. I just have a feeling I've been in this position, not in the position of a World Cup final sort of thing. Obviously not. But sometimes you go into games and you try so much and you build yourself up to so much to have a good start, to be the better team. And ultimately, when it doesn't go your way, and it doesn't go your way against world-class opposition like Argentina and Lionel Messi, it can be hard to get going. And I just think everything France did wasn't coming off, and I think, oh my God, it's not coming off. We're panicking. Argentina go 1-0 up, Argentina go 2-0 up, and everything was just sort of caving in on France. It almost felt like they lost the final of that first half. And I think that's just a human thing. We can sit here and criticise, okay, they've got to be professional enough, they've got to be good enough to deal with that and fix that, which ultimately they did fix it. But ultimately, they're professional footballers against a good team in Argentina, and they just weren't at it. And that could be a mixture of things. That could be France's doing. That could be brilliance by Argentina stopping France playing. I'm not sure. It's probably a mixture of everything. But it was. I don't want to say disappointing, because here we are discussing it's the greatest football match we've ever seen. But ultimately, it's a little bit disappointing. French gave that showing for the first 70 minutes. They obviously, or the game deserved a little bit more from them.
Yeah, hard to disagree. But I will say, I know they conceded 3 goals. I thought Raphael Varane had a good game. I really do.
I thought he died in that last bit when he came off before injury time. He just collapsed. I thought, oh my God, what's happening here?
I hope he's all right. I definitely hope he's all right, and hopefully he's fit for Manchester United. On Manchester United, Tom, and Lisandro Martinez is a World Cup winner, so bit of brava there, bit of congratulations to the butcher. But let me ask you this. On those two players, just to bring it to a Manchester United perspective for one moment, Do we not expect either player to play until the new year? I think that's what you would expect at this point, right?
Varane, I think, will be a fitness thing. Okay, Eric Ten Hag needs to say, okay, how are you feeling? What do you need in terms of when do you want to come back? Like, how are you feeling? He needs a little bit of a break. On Lisandro Martinez, let's say Lisandro Martinez is fit and ready to go against Burnley. Okay, of course, the selfish part of me, throw him in. I want to see the World Cup winner back in a red shirt. Ultimately, if I'm Eric Ten Hag, though, and a manager, I look at the situation around Martinez now in terms of man management. Yes, I'm selfish in regarding one of the best performances at Old Trafford, but ultimately, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Martinez. I think he needs to be rewarded with that and given the time off. Not given the time off, don't go and have 3 months off on a beach in Argentina, but go and enjoy yourself. And this might sound extreme. As a manager and keeping Lisandro Martinez happy, and any player in this situation, I'd say go have 2 weeks off. Go and party with your family. Go and enjoy yourselves. Go put your feet up, revel in the moment. And I think Manchester United, in the position we're in and the position we should be in, we should be able to cope 2 weeks without Lisandro Martinez.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And hopefully, but look, Ten Hag's a smart man manager. He's had to deal with massive challenges so far. And we've got Harry Maguire, so no stress, no problems. Who have we got here? We've got Emad saying it was quite symbolic, almost a changing of the guard. The greatest of all time, though, lifting and winning it all. The hat-trick was like a passing of the baton. Oh, Emad, we're going to get into Mbappe in one moment, my friend, so make sure you do stay tuned for that. Burger FK, is that a shot, mate? I'm always down for a burger. Di Maria carried Argentina. What a player. Di Maria did have a good game, but you're not going to see any praise for him on this podcast. Sorry, my friends. But look, he did. He had a great game, and his goal was excellent. Football
comment, if you can bring it up from Elliot just there, just to remind him, it's a great reminder. If you just throw Elliot's comment up there, winner, chicken dinner. A reminder, Elliot drew Argentina in the Pubcast sweepstakes. So congratulations to Elliot. Winner of either Brian Robson or Dennis Irwin signed photo. Elliot, send us a message. Get in touch and we can arrange delivery, or if you're next time you're in Sydney, we can tee that up, and we'll see which one you do want. I can show you again the photos. Don't have them here with me, but I will show you either the Dennis Irwin or Brian Robson. So congratulations to Elliot for winning that with Argentina. I think Matthew, top good mate of ours, had France in the final. So thank you everyone for entered that and help support the podcast. And we'll hopefully maybe do something along those lines again in the near future.
For sure. And thank you for the uptake in the sweeps as well. It does help us out. So massive thank you to everyone who participated. And Elliot, congratulations. After this podcast, you can guarantee I will be having a chicken dinner. So I am very much looking forward to that. But Tom, let's talk about Kylian Mbappe. He made the point already. A passing of the baton. His goals, his performance, particularly that second goal. All right, sorry. Take this as me climaxing. That second goal, he had no right. It was a phenomenal finish, and I don't know if it will get the respect it deserves because he's on the losing side. We always see this happen when a player does something phenomenal and he's on the losing team, tends to get forgotten. That goal from Mbappe should be on highlight reels for the next 2 decades. It was a phenomenal goal.
Look, 100% right. I think maybe over-egging the put in regards, and it's fantastic quality, of course. So I think a little bit over the top there. I think why you feel like that way, and rightly so, is the occasion. To get that goal
it is because of the occasion. But
because of the occasion.
To do that under pressure in a final, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think you can understate it. There's the ability to do that, but there's the ability to do that in the park behind the house, and there's the ability to do that a volley.
Not only the ability, I think something with that ability, 100% the technique to do that, but it's when the ball was sort of put over to him, it felt like a goal before he struck it. Like there was a confidence about him, and there was a confidence around it, thinking he's going to hit this well and this is going to be a goal. It wasn't a shock that it went in. Like, it was a great moment. It had that sort of aura about it, but it wasn't a shock when the ball went over. Said he's going to equalise here, and he did, and that's a credit to him.
Absolutely. Bear with us with the audio today. Tom and I are not in our usual settings, so if we're not as clear as normal, bear with us. We'll be back in our regular settings throughout the week. But Tom, let me bring it back to Mbappe, and I just want to ask you a question. Is he the best player in the world right now? Imad alluded to, is it a passing of the baton for the future, or did he already have one hand on the baton? Is Kylian Mbappe the world's best player right now?
One of those tricky ones in terms of, does he have to leave France to be sort of in that discussion? Does he have to be doing the Premier League or La Liga? I think
he's done it in the Champions League. He doesn't. He shows his quality against the league.
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no, he isn't. I think it's interesting in regards to we've been having a Messi and Ronaldo discussion, and rightly so. Now it's turned into a Haaland and Mbappe discussion, and I think
Haaland's not even in the discussion for me.
Look, I don't, but it's very similar in regards to Messi and Ronaldo. Messi's the better footballer than Ronaldo, but then you could look at Ronaldo's numbers. Maybe we're trumping Messi at times. I think we're looking at Mbappe and Haaland. Okay, Haaland's not as good a footballer as Mbappe, but you look at Haaland's numbers and they're absolutely scary. So I think we could be having a very similar discussion in terms of the best footballer. He had a shocking World Cup. I still class Kevin De Bruyne as the best player in the world at the moment. Obviously, the World Cup doesn't back that up. But in regards to Mbappe and that point he makes in regards to the passing of the baton, it does feel like that in regards to obviously teammates at club level, which will be interesting to see that dynamic when they come back. I'm sure they're professional enough to carry on, and rightly so. But it is an interesting dynamic. And look, there is a lot of baggage with Kylian Mbappe in regards to the off-field stuff. But ultimately, we're just football fans, and if you can just sort of push everything to the side and just look at what we care about, what we see on the field. Kylian Mbappe, potentially, something very special on the cards over the next decade.
I got a question for you, Tom. Kylian Mbappe, because Kylian Mbappe is 24 tomorrow. Cristiano Ronaldo won a Ballon d'Or with Manchester United at 24 years of age. Ronaldo at 24? Kylian Mbappe at 24?
No, Ronaldo, different category.
Different category. So do you think Ronaldo is clear of Mbappe at the same age?
What season was Ronaldo 24? What season at United?
7-8 season.
Yeah, no, that 07-08 season. That was one of the greatest things I've seen in football that season. Mbappe's just gone and scored a hat trick in the World Cup.
I agree with you. You don't have to defend it. I know it's a contentious question because I think if you ask the everyday football fan, fans are so modernistic in the way that they think. So it's interesting, and I agree with you, mate. So don't defend it, but get your comments in. Would you take Ronaldo, Manchester United's Cristiano Ronaldo the first time around, or would you take Kylian Mbappe now? Because we're talking about who's the best player in the world right now. So it's interesting to see, what's the conversation being had. So make sure you get your comments in. And I will bring it now back to those who are in the chat. Massive respect to Mbappe, second person to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final by Jordy, 100%. And he should absolutely be praised for that. Rob, he's got his World Cup win now, needs big league titles and champions. Absolutely, Rob. And that's the next thing for Mbappe. This summer for me, he needs to make the big move. He needs to leave PSG. He needs to go to Spain or the Premier League. Maybe he needs to come to Manchester United under some rich owners who cashed up.
Well, he can test himself as a number. He can test himself as a 24-year-old number 7 at Old Trafford, and we can get an answer on who was better.
Oh well, he can put the debate to bed if he wants to come prove himself. Imad, so many up and coming talents: Alvarez, Gakpo, Bellingham, Saka, Gavi, Pedri, etc. I'm not sure about all of those in terms of the top echelon of football, Imad, but absolutely agree with your sentiments.
I'm taking Gavi and Pedri. I'm taking all day.
Oh yeah, those two I agree with. Gakpo I like, but I'm not sure about best in the world. Same with Bellingham. I like Bellingham. I think that the thing with Bellingham for me, and look, he's young. I'm not going to write him off. Of course I'm not, but he doesn't quite have that world-class passing in his game. That's the one thing I'd need to see him add to him. I think he's a great runner, a great dribbler, physical, but I think he needs to add the passing element to his game. Once he adds that, undoubtedly he can be in that conversation. George Ashby is going on with the talent around the world, 100%. Tom, let's keep on track. Argentina's celebrations. We saw Messi in the robe. I don't want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it. What have you made of Argentina's celebration so far? What did you make of the robe dressing? Give me your thoughts.
Look, no real issue with it in terms of we'll get into the way we treat players in regards to Ronaldo and Messi are treated differently. In regards to the photo, I think it's actually kind of cool. I know Qatar, in terms of the sign of respect, I did a little bit of research into what that means, and it is a sign of respect. So ultimately, there is that, and I've got no issue with it. And as I said, we kind of treat him like this king and the king of Argentina, and to put a robe on him, I think it does sort of create a bit of an iconic photo. But ultimately, it's Lionel Messi's moment. It's not Qatar's moment. I know there is a sign of respect to it, but obviously Lionel Messi would have been wanting to wear the Argentina shirt there in terms of that iconic image. So it's a shame it was taken away from Lionel Messi in regards to that. And ultimately, as it is a sign of respect, we've got no issue with it, and we've seen it in other countries. But ultimately, is that going to be done if Luka Modric won the World Cup? No. If Hugo Lloris was the French winning captain, would that have been worn? Probably not. I think Ronaldo and Messi, it was going to be worn, and we know why. In terms of we're going to be having a discussion like this in future months in regards to Manchester United's owners and sort of motives, and we're looking at very likely off the back of this who's going to host the next World Cup. Not the America one, but the one in 2030 is very likely going to be Saudi Arabia. I think we can sort of pencil that in terms of the way that's going. And I think we know what this was from Qatar. And that's not a criticism of it. It's the way it is. It's sort of why they had the World Cup. And fair play, they posted a brilliant World Cup. But I think putting that robe on Lionel Messi, I think everyone knows what it was in terms of a bit of an image. But ultimately, I thought in terms of photos, probably pretty bit of a cool look in terms of like a heavyweight boxer walks out there with the robe on. That's how I saw it. But ultimately, from Lionel Messi, you could see him was a little bit, I wanted to do this in the Argentina shirt. But there was a bit of hysteria. I wouldn't go that far, but just one of those things. I think modern football, the modern society.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiments, to be honest. I didn't like Qatar putting the robe on him, and purely because of what it represented. I didn't think, Brazil didn't put, dancers or anything like that around the World Cup winners. South Africa.
I think just in that moment, that there's moments for that, there's times for that. I think that was Lionel Messi in Argentina's moment, and I think it wasn't taken away from them, but I think when we sort of look at everything back, we can see what it was. Just it didn't hurt anyone. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It wasn't distasteful, but maybe just right idea, wrong place. But Tom, I know everyone's been waiting for this. This is what the title of the video is. So it's time to ask you the question. Messi versus Ronaldo. It's been the long debate for 15 long years. I can see you got a grin on your face already. Is the debate over?
Look, as I said the other day, in terms of the way we consume football in what I don't know what Twitter has at the moment, 160, 180 characters. And that takes up so much of the way we sort of view football and talk about football. And ultimately, that's how we discuss and debate football. So ultimately, in regards to that, yes, it's over. And you cannot argue at the moment in terms of the pub. When you're down there, it's always going to remain a very subjective debate. And everyone can make very sort of valid arguments that Cristiano Ronaldo is, or Pele, or Diego Maradona, Johan Cruyff, all George Best, all these players, and someone could always have a valid argument that it's Lionel Messi. And in terms of the way I view things, in terms of weighing up someone's legacy and the quality and sort of combining those two, I see what Lionel Messi has done now and the story that he's written himself. And look, I am a Ronaldo man. Of course, I side on the fence of Ronaldo. But in regards to the debate, I have to put Messi there at the moment. But unfortunately, what I think that is, I'm putting Lionel Messi there as a celebration and a praise of Lionel Messi and how great it is. Unfortunately, what I think society or the football community is doing, they're not putting Lionel Messi there for Lionel Messi's benefit. They're putting there to make sure they're not putting Ronaldo at the top. And I think it's sort of trying to tear Ronaldo down rather than elevate Lionel Messi. And I think this should just be a celebration of Lionel Messi. I think sort of so much of what we're hearing and reading. And it's unfortunate, I didn't want to use Ronaldo in the image for this thumbnail, but we kind of have to because he does tie into the Messi discussion. Here we are having it. But it's something, in my opinion, that it's just Lionel Messi should be sort of talked about and praised as the greatest of all time. That's not a criticism of George Best, of Pele, Maradona, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think it's just, you look at what Lionel Messi has done on and off the field in regards to the way he's played the game, in terms of maybe challenges he's had in his career, in terms of look at the physical size of him compared to other players and the physical nature of the game. And to be able to play the game in the way he does at that level and achieve those results, I can't argue. You have to put him as the greatest of all time. Now, there's a case, different eras of what Diego Maradona have done in this era. And I think, in terms of the challenges Maradona had, I could potentially see him doing something similar.
Well, Maradona got kicked off the pitch time and time again. So
that's what I mean. I look at putting a Ronaldo or a Messi back in the 80s, and I think, how would they have coped? Now, they did get kicked, obviously, but how would they cope? I did see Maradona cope with that. So I think he would have been sort of maybe well-suited in this modern game in terms of to deal with sort of the lack of physical pressure defenders and referees sort of apply. So I still think Maradona's... But it's a quicker game.
And then I guess the age-old question is, did he have the discipline off the pitch to maintain that level of performance?
Yeah. I side on the fence. I'm a Ronaldo man. I think every Manchester United fan will side on that side of the fence. But ultimately, in regards to the debate, I do have Messi there now, and fair play to him. And that is nothing against anyone else. That is a full just backing and praising of Lionel Messi, an absolute magician.
He is a magician, absolutely. To Emad's comment, mate, no one's against the robe itself. We just thought, good robe, good gesture, just not while he's trying to lift up the World Cup with his teammates. Well, that's where Tom and I seem to have landed on it. But Tom, in terms of the debate, I have to agree with you, to be honest. I want to sit here and say, yes, Ronaldo is the best. But what I will do is I want to add more to one point you made. Trying to disregard Ronaldo or suppress Ronaldo's legacy as a means to what people are doing this is where they both are. They're trying to do this to Ronaldo as opposed to doing this to Messi. And what you're saying is right. And I think Ronaldo maybe hasn't helped himself with his conduct over the last couple months. And I think there's a little bit of emotion and a desire from people to kind of respond to that. But in saying that, regardless of Ronaldo's performances over the last 3 months, it's also worth remembering there is a 3-year age gap between these three players. And who's to say Messi will be the same player in 3 years' time? You know what I mean? So, I don't want to be too hard on Ronaldo, a player who didn't have an off season, compared to someone who's 3 years younger, has had an off season, and different circumstances. But nonetheless, both are great. Both are elite. Both should be remembered for being in the conversation for the greatest of all time. But as it stands today, you have to put Messi that slight bracket above, I think. But I think that's a good place to leave it. We'll just bring it to some comments. Jordy, people should just respect both careers. Absolutely, mate. Be happy with what we were able to witness for the last 15, 20 years. I don't think we'll see a Messi Ronaldo again. I think it's probably out of convenience and familiarity that people want to say Mbappe and Haaland. Haaland's a great goal scorer, but he's nowhere near to being the best footballer. And I think he's going to need to add a lot more to his game for that conversation to even, have some substance for me. But time will tell. And then Chris here, I like Ronaldo. The way he's acted the last year has damaged his reputation. It has, and that's how society will view it, Chris. But in hindsight, I would like to think that won't necessarily be the case. But I think that's a good place to leave it, Tom. Any final comments on Messi, the World Cup final, Lisandro Martinez being a World Cup winner? Anything you want to add on what's been a spectacular day for football?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, as I said, about sort of halfway through that match, as I said, I was sort of tossing a turn on who should be playing left back against Burnley in the League Cup. I was sort of get back in Manchester United gear. And I think that is where, I haven't got tired of the World Cup, but I'm glad it's over now. I did enjoy it, but now it's back to the real thing, and that is Manchester United. So ultimately, you can look back fondly at the World Cup and the moments and sort of brilliant, sort of stir up another discussion in regards to when World Cup should be and the pros and cons of it in terms of a winter versus summer World Cup. They're discussions for the future, but ultimately it's Manchester United. Ultimately, we hate international football. We like it for a month every 4 years, but now we're back to the real stuff, and ultimately Man United need to win in a couple of days against Burnley.
Absolutely. Oh, well, there's international friendlies in March, which I'm sure Rob will be excited for. You and I will groan. But nonetheless, I'm with you, mate. I'm back to hating international football games. I'm not going to care again until 2026. But that's a good place to leave it. I hope you've all enjoyed that video. If you are new, make sure you do subscribe. We've got lots of content coming your way. We've got the preview against Burnley in the League Cup for Manchester United coming to you in the next day or two. So make sure you do keep an eye out for that. We've also got match reviews coming. Any massive breaking news, we will be bringing it to you from down under, because we are in Australia. We represent Australians, but believe it or not, our hearts are in Manchester as much as anyone else. But it's a good way to sum up the World Cup. It's a good way to wrap up this video. Tom, pleasure for joining me.
No, pleasure, mate. Always.
Thank you. Cheers to everyone tuning in. Hope you all have a good night, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers.